or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Marge Lauber, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the current issues of the Tribune Sentinel covering Niagara County and Grand Island on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And this is from May 1st. So the silo aims to please as it opens for 2026 season. Despite celebrating more than a quarter century in business, a rare 2020s feat, a signature sandwich seen on national television, which is called the Haystack, mired best of food tourism lists and boatloads of positive social media feedback, the Silo restaurant isn't settling for status quo. As the village of Lewiston Waterfront Eatery and Ice Cream Caboose officially opens for the season on May 1st. We always feel the pressure to be better than the year before, General Manager Lexi Elferry David said. Over winter, our job is to listen to complaints or identify anything that we could have done better, and that's why every season we come back stronger. So they opened May 1st. And this season, we're really lucky because we have only a handful of new people, so we are starting with essentially almost a full trained staff. And the New Orleans Central Labor Council is to commemorate Workers on Memorial Day. The Niagara Orleans Central Labor Council invites the community to join in commemorating Workers' Memorial Day on Saturday, May 2nd. That already happened. But today is, I think, May 7th. So hopefully that you all went to that one. In other news, the Rhonda kicks off the season on May 20th. Growing up on a farm in Quebec, Cindy Montana's favorite memory is sitting on the veranda with her family, enjoying peaceful moments as a reward for hard work. We always used to sit on the porch and look at the view and have a glass of wine and just relax, Montana said. When Veranda kicks off its new season on Wednesday, May 20th at Beaver Island State Park, the goal is to serve up not only fine dining, but that essence of comfort and reward Montana felt back home. That's what I want people to feel when they're here. And the Veranda with the apostrophe, it's V apostrophe R-A-N-D-A, comes about because my dad was an auctioneer and he talked really fast. We're going to take a quick look at the 26-27 Grand Island Central School District budget. So the Grand Island Central District School Board of Education voted to adopt an $81,685,805 budget for the 26-27 academic school year at its meeting on April 22nd. The next step is a public hearing on the budget scheduled for 7 p.m. on May 11th at the high school. The district-wide vote is scheduled for 8 to 9 a.m. Thursday, May 19th at Grand Island High School. This article summarizes what is in the budget. There will be a separate article about the tax levy and a subsequent Tribunal Sentinel dispatch. The recommended proposal budget for 2020 school year is $81,685,805, which is an increase of $2,364,660, or 12.9% over last year's budget of $79,321,145. There are projected to be 2,862 students in the Grand Island Central School District from 26-27 year, and an increase of 25 over the 2,837 students who attended the 25-26 academic year, as well as a total of 550 employees. So the budget is Proposition 1 and the upcoming vote. Where does the money come from? Well, it comes from local property tax levy. If the voters approve the budget, the Grand Island Central School District would receive $42,976,370 from its property tax levy. From last year to this year, there is an increase of $1,129,855. Local property taxes provide 52.6% of school district revenue. Then there's estimated state aid, which is about 32.8%. And then other sources, they get like $4,900 from Erie County sales tax revenue. There's a fund balance. The school year starts on July 1st and ends on June 30th. School district fund balance is the cumulative difference between a district's assets, which are their cash investments, and liabilities, which are their outstanding expenses. And where does the money go? Well, Wayland listed some of the school district major expenses. Salaries and benefits come to like $61,373,214. The debt owed on the buildings and past school buses. This includes both principals and interest debt. That's $6.1 million. Utilities are $1.1 million. Fuels $245,000. Special education tuition is $1.5 million. And building maintenance is $755,000. Wow. Contracted school bus routes, there would be 4 or 5 routes off of Grand Island. That's $762,000. A literacy program they have is $150,000. Public relations, $38,000. High school art teacher at a full-time equivalent of $38,000. Breakfast monitor for the middle school is $20,000. And then for the Youth Elementary School, that's $20,000. Portable air conditioning for the high school, $17,000. The total amount of all these changes is $283,000. 11 teachers and a psychologist will retire at the end of the 2020. Had retired at the end of the 25-26 academic year. They're going to be retiring this year. 5 of those teachers will be replaced. And in the high school, there are plans to replace the retiring social studies teacher and a science teacher. There's another article, Strictly Hip to perform at the Grand Island Cultural Center. So a big helping of alternative rock culture is coming to the Old Church Theater at 7:30 p.m. Saturday, May 16th. The Strictly Hip will perform as the inaugural concert event at the theater in the Grand Island Cultural Center, 2106 Baseline Road. The building formerly was the Old St. Stephen's Church. We're really excited about the concert, GICC board member Frank Burkhardt said. The concert's a fundraiser to support the renovations to complete the transition from church to community center. Projects yet to be completed inside the upstairs floor and the downstairs kitchen. The GICC said its news release that the Strictly Hip have been evangelists, spreading the good word of the Tragically Hip's music far and wide. This is the music of the Tragically Hip, presented with reverence, respect, accuracy, and fun. The Tragically Hip performed their final show on August 20th, 2016, following lead singer Gord Downey's terminal cancer diagnosis. Based on popularity, critical acclaim, and streaming data, the top 3 Tragically Hip songs are generously considered to be Bob Kayagan, Wheat Kings, and Ahead of a Century. Their iconic Canadian anthems are beloved for their storytelling, poets, lyrics, and distinct rock sound, according to Spotify. The tribute band Strictly Hip was founded in 1995 in St. Catharines, Ontario, but is now based in Buffalo. They regularly perform to sold-out venues across North America and have created a loyal base fan of their own. The Army Corps announces Black Rock Locks operation scheduled. The USAC reports the Federal Navigation Channel has a minimum width of 200 feet. Pleasure crafts are required to yield the right-of-way to commercial vessels due to confined waters of the canal. More than 1,002 vessels and 80.2 tons of commerce passed through its gates in 2025. Now open for the 26th navigation season, the operation schedule includes designated use times of lock system for downbound and upbound vessel transit in the Niagara River. Downbound vessel transit heads north from Buffalo into the Niagara River and operates at the top of each hour. Upbound vessel transit heads south from the lock system toward Lake Erie and operates at the bottom of each hour. So the times include from January 1st to April 18th. They're open Monday, Thursday. First outbound vessel entry at 8 a.m., lasts at 3. Then it goes all the way to October 17th to December 31st. So it's for the whole year. And weekdays, again, the first outbound vessel entries at 8 and last is at 3. Users require 24-hour prior notice to schedule a transit time with Black Rock Lock. The lockmaster of his representative will issue a transit time when all safety requirements can be met and the lock can be properly staffed. The vessel is required to inform the lock of any delays, which could change the scheduled transit time. After hours, contract information can be provided upon request. Well, I guess there are a lot of people running for candidates for the mayor and for the town board. So Dan Coda announced his candidacy for the mayor of the village of Lewiston. And I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Dan Coda, and I'm running for mayor of the village of Lewiston. My wife grew up in Niagara Falls, and every time we came back to visit family, we found ourselves ending up in Lewiston because of the waterfront, the community, and everything this village has to offer. We didn't just visit, we fell in love. And because of that, we made a choice. We chose Lewiston to raise our daughter, to build our future, and to put down roots in a community that we believe in. I, however, am from away, as mariners like to say. I was born and raised in Maine, in a small river town not unlike Lewiston. I know what small towns look like and feel like. I know what it means when a downtown works, when local businesses thrive, and when a community stays connected year-round. I joined the Army straight out of high school and proudly served with the 5th Special Forces Group. That experience shaped how I think and how I approach challenges and how I solve problems. It taught me discipline, accountability, and the importance of showing up when people are counting on you. After the Army, I built a long career in IT that took me just about everywhere, from oil rigs in Alaska to craft beer logistics in Colorado. The common thread was always the same. I'm the person you call when you want real solutions, not just the appearance of progress. Today, I work at IT, consulting and repair bicycles on the side. I won't always have every answer, but I'm very good at finding them. Lewiston is something special. We have incredible festivals, world-class fishing, local businesses worth protecting, and a community of people who care deeply about Lewiston. But we need to be a village people choose on a Tuesday in February, not just on a Saturday in July. We need a village that defines its own development, not one that lets developers define it for us. So as mayor, I'll be unapologetically supportive of small businesses. I'll support our festivals and our fishing industry. I'll fight for a center street that works for everyone, including pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers alike. And I'll make sure the people of this village are always part of the conversation. Then we have Coppins, who is seeking re-election to the Village of Lewiston Board. And she said, I'm honored to announce that I am running for re-election as your Village of Lewiston trustee. To everyone who came out to the village caucuses and cast a vote for me, thank you. Serving this community has been one of the greatest privileges of my life, and I am grateful for the trust you placed in me. 4 years ago, I asked for your vote because I believe the village needed more transparency, fairness, and hands-on approach to local government. I am asking for your support once again so that I may continue to serve this amazing community and the people who live and work here. My husband Peter and I have lived in this community for several years now, raising our 2 sons and servicing the village through our volunteer work and serving on different committees and boards. We understand and acknowledge how fortunate we are to call Lewiston our home and see it as a privilege to service the community we are so invested in and its future. Professionally, I have spent the past 2 decades managing a 425,000 square commercial property and balancing a multi-million-dollar budget. I see my vast array of professional experience as an asset and hope I have the opportunity to continue servicing and sharing my knowledge to make our village the best it can be for all who live, play, and work here. And there's Colasano, who Leonarda, Leandra Colasarda. She is running for Village of Lewiston Board, and her name is Leandra Colasano, and I'm proud to announce my candidacy for Village of Lewiston trustee. I grew up in this village, graduated from Lewiston Porter, and earned my BA in English from sunny Fredonia. Today, I am a resident who shops locally, volunteers actively, and works as a senior price analyst at Thermo Fisher Scientific on Grand Island. As a former small business owner in Lewiston, I understand firsthand the challenges our local businesses face. As a resident, I also recognize the growing frustration surrounding transparency and accessibility in our village government. With more than 30 years of experience in project management and analytical problem solving, I will bring a thoughtful, solutions-oriented perspective to help move our community forward. My service as past president and current board member of the Historical Association of Lewiston, along with my role on the executive board of the Kiwanis Club of Lewiston, has prepared me to cooperate effectively and build strong relationships. I believe these connections are essential to strengthening partnerships with organizations such as the Upward Niagara Chamber of Commerce, ARPARC, the town of Lewiston, and the many volunteer-based community groups that have defined our village. Lewiston is not just where I live, it is where my heart is. I have volunteered throughout the community, supporting events such as the Kiwanis Peach Festival, the Bruce Sutherland Memorial Golf Tournament, local tours and fundraisers, and other initiatives that bring our community together. I am committed to continuing that service as your trustee. Here's some news that happened. But first of all, you're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Tribune Sentinel covering Niagara County and Grand Island on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. So on Saturday, April 24th, that was about 3 weeks ago, Cub Scout Pack 833 and 824 were at the Frontier Fire Company on Liberty Drive. They participated in the 35th Annual Liberty Drive cleanup. So the Scouts were helped by Precious Plate, a business on Liberty Drive, which supplied donuts, cookies, coffees, drinks, gloves, safety vests, grabbers, and garbage bags. And the cleanup was coordinated by the town of Wheatfield Councilman Larry Helwig. Niagara County Sewer District provided the dumpster. According to Anne-Marie Evans, the Cub Scout master of 824 and the troops had fun and did their job, despite rainy weather the day of the cleaning. Evans said the cleanup was the beginning of making the young scouts aware of the environment around them. It's part of the requirements for rank advancement, and because they have fun doing it, that's how we get them started, looking after the environment. Then it just becomes natural, she said. She noticed how the inclusion of female scouts has affected the pack in 2018. The Boy Scouts of America allow girls to join Cub Scouts. The girls and their euphemism sometimes keep the boys going too, she said. It's like a little bit of a competition, a friendly competition. So Evans' own two sons also participated in scouting and both achieved the highest rank of Eagle Scouts. I just hang out for the other kids, she said, of the current position and laughed. It's just amazing with all the kids. Watching as they mature and to look back when they were little as cubs or joining the troop at 11 years old. And you look at them at 18, we really see what they learned in Scouts and for the rest of their lives. Evans said the rain and the gross stuff that happened that the Scouts cleaned out didn't deter the young kids. They found wrappers and small bottles of alcohol this year, but Evans remembered finding parts of a store dummy at another annual cleanup. A few years ago, we found the upper part of a mannequin, so they had a lot of fun with it, she said. It's great watching these kids do this dirty work and still have a good attitude about it. Okay, there's some at the Niagara County Office for the Aging menu. Today, the 7th, they're having ham and Swiss cheese sandwiches, lettuce, tomato, onion, minestrone soup with crackers, coleslaw, 2 slices of wheat bread and a banana, and a pack of mustard and mayonnaise. Then tomorrow, they're having chicken thighs with gravy, hash browns, seasoned broccoli, wheat dinner roll, homemade apple crisp with whipped topping. Okay, their next section is Let's Go Back Dispatch throughout the years. So 60 years ago, on May 5th of 1966, the post office future clouded by lack of positive action. If you enjoy doing business at the Grand Island Post Office under weather-protected conditions, then do so, while you may. At present, there is some doubt if such protections will exist after October 31st of this year. It's 1966. Post office officials have stated that either a new building will be used on the island by October 31st or an extension of a lease would allow the post office to remain in its present location at 1957 Whitehaven Road. The owner of the property at 1957 Whitehaven Road stated this week that the lease agreement with the U.S. Post Office Department does not extend beyond October 31st, 1996, and until no circumstances will be extended. Thus, a new building looms as the only answer, and only 179 days remain for a newer facility to be constructed and furnished based on the October 31st deadline. And then 50 years ago, on May 5th, 1976, the Bicentennial Committee reports plans. Members of the Grand Island Town Bicentennial Committee and several interested citizens met with town historian Marion Klingel, chairman of the committee, at Town Hall last Saturday morning. Town Supervisor Ray Griffin reported on the planning and dedication of the Liberty Tree last Friday. Those islanders who drive along Grand Island Boulevard in front of the fire hall can easily spot it on the front lawn. Small American flags circle its base in a fluttering ring of red, white, and blue cloth. Another tree planting is scheduled for May 15th. The Kiwanis Club will plant a beautiful white oak on the front lawn of Town Hall to commemorate the white oak stands that once flourished in abundance on the island. Mrs. Shirley Jankowski reported a town bicentennial park will be dedicated on December 17th. It's 1976. Now, 10 years ago, on May 6, 2016, Hardwick recognizes Polly April 2016 Citizen of the Month. Erie County Legislator Kevin Hardwick announced Grand Island resident Raymond Polly has been named the April 2016 Citizen of the Month in recognition of his service to the community through the Grand Island Fire Company and other contributions. Polly, who has been a member of the fire company for more than 50 years, was presented a proclamation during the legislator's April 28th session. Like so many of our volunteer firefighters, Ray has given thousands of hours of time to protect others. He represents the best that mankind has to offer, Hardwick said. The Grand Island 7-Eleven reportedly is set to close. Grand Island South End is about to lose a longtime community retail outlet. The 7-Eleven store at 1787 Love Road on Grand Island is scheduled to close May 6th. It was yesterday, according to published reports. It is among the more than 600 locations set to close during this year. The Island Dispatch spoke to a store employee who confirmed the closing date and said the vendor deliveries ended about 3 weeks ago. The employee also said the remaining staff of about 8 would likely be transferred to other 7-Eleven area stores. The Grand Island store was listed with 30 other store closing soon across the country. No other Western New York stores were on the list, according to the report. So on Tuesday, stocks were low for several staple goods. There were clearance tables with discounted items such as snacks and seasonal goods. A visit by Niagara Frontier Publications confirmed the NFP reached out to 7-Eleven's corporate media office, as well as to the Grand Island store manager, but received no reply before press time. Parent company 7&I Holdings Incorporated, a Japanese retail conglomerate, has said it will be closing 645 of the 7-Eleven locations across North America in the 26th fiscal year, according to industry sources. The fiscal year between March 1st and February 28th, 27, will see the company's store footprint shrink for the 5th year in a row, according to Inc. newsletters, a selection of business-focused newsletters. While 7-Eleven uses a franchise model, the Grand Island location is part of the corporate-owned network. The store was part of the Wilson Farms chain until it was purchased in 2011. The store closures are an attempt to reduce costs and increase profitability for the chain of convenience stores ahead of a U.S. initial public offering for its North American unit, which was recently delayed, Inc. newsletter reported. The business newsletter added that during the same period, 205 new 7-Eleven locations are set to open, meaning a net loss of 440 of the convenience stores is expected. The report said the closures represent about 5% reduction in the company's current footprint of 12,272 North American locations. Another source, Fast Company Newsletter, added that the company said some of the closing locations won't be shuttered entirely. Many 7-Eleven locations in North America sell both gas at the pump and food inside the convenience store. Locations that don't have an operating convenience store and only sell gas are known as wholesale fuel stores. Fast Company Newsletter reports that some locations will close their convenience store segment but continue to operate as gas stations. However, the locations that undergo transition to wholesale fuel stores only will no longer count as part of the chain's total footprint. Hence, a wholesale fuel store conversion counts as a closure. So in other news, the Lewiston Town Board hears from the residents on the pickleball and a pumpkin farm. So at times, some of the most insightful news at board meetings comes in the resident statements portion. Such was the case Monday in the town of Lewiston. Following the recent announcement of new pickleball courts planned on the plateau area at Richard Fullery Park, Creek Road resident Clay Miller questioned the town board's reasoning to seek Niagara River Greenway funding to complete the project. He said, "I'm interested in the decision-making process to allocate $500,000. I'm hoping to hear how thoughtful the allocation of money is for that project," he said. Miller said he understood Lewiston's relationship with the Niagara River Greenway Commission and the benefit it affords the town. But I guess I'm trying to understand what data you might have that points to the fact that the pickleball complex was the best use of that money, he said. To me, and maybe some other people, a pickleball complex maybe is a little outside the lines of that Greenway mission. Miller said he is aware of the sport's growing popularity, but he questioned whether that it would be the case in the long run. He likened it to money spent in the past on rollerblade parks. Towns and municipalities built rollerblade parks. Rollerblading was great for 20 years. That now no one rollerblades, Miller said. Then towns are left with a whole bunch of jumps and pavement. Miller said he was hopeful that Lewiston would consider the potential of idle pickleball courts if a reposing need arises 20 years down the road. So Supervisor Steve Broderick defended the expense. He said a lot of people are converting tennis courts into pickleball courts, and they can be converted back into tennis courts. Broderick said the town did its homework on the matter, cooperated with a volunteer engineer, and is responding to the wishes of residents in both the town and the village. He said pickleball is one of the fastest growing sports in America, and we have 2 courts at Kiwanis. They're constantly in use. We've had some people that were using the parking lot at the senior center with a temporary net. Broderick said other municipalities have similarly responded to pickleball's popularity. In Lockport, for example, a new facility is being built on Day Road. So then Broderick and town board members heard more comments of interest from Kyle King, who owned and operated the Niagara Pumpkin Farm on Town Line Road. And King said he had his problems with neighbors Andrew Davis, a frequent visitor to town board meetings. This is another news. This has been an ongoing situation that has been going on for 4 years, King said. All right, we're not leaving, we're not going on anything. He went on to fault town responses in a number of areas, including its permit process. The town recently approved local law number 2, intended to modify Chapter 360 of its zoning code and address this issue. I'm going to continue to put the fence up along the right side of my property, King said. The police actually advised me to do so. I can't sit here and live my life like this anymore. I've been disrespected by this neighbor for almost 4 years, and my children had sat there and watched it. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not going to sit here and listen to him come out to every town board meeting and portray us as a problem, and he's the victim. It's not that at all. It's the complete opposite, and every other neighbor that lives around us sees it. But yet, when you sat here for 4 years and then scrutinized, it's not there. It's not fair to me. I don't know what I need to do to get this fence going, but I need to do it immediately. So what needs to be done for the permit to be pushed through? You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Tribune, Sentinel, covering Niagara County and Grand Island on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And we continue. So the session ended with assurances by Bax and Masters to further review the King application to construct a fence on his property. And in other news, Highway Superintendent Michael Weiss provided an update on Lewiston's paving plans for 26. He said, we finally did get our bids from Niagara County. What we are going to pave, he said. We're looking at Sherwood Court Park Lane, Oak Ridge Lane, Briarwood Lane, University Drive, Hillside Drive, Orchard Drive, Lift Road, Meadow Road, Sullivan Court, Bronson Drive, Bridle Path Lane, Carriage Lane, and Paddock Lane, and Brewing Drive. White said he expected to have an update list of paving needs next month. Then the Recreation Director, Tim Smith, reported that Lewiston's baseball and softball seasons are now underway, and we're well over 250 kids, which is most that we've ever had. And Smith said the town's summer youth camps are likewise popular. We got up to over 200 kids, and we've got over 300 who applied. Unfortunately, we cannot take everybody, but we are just keep growing, which is a nice thing. And Broderick announced the town received sealed bids for its planned work at the Lewiston Police Department substation at Creek Road. Explaining the process, he said, we got one bid on every project, and when you go to seal bid, you are allowed to accept just one bidder. Bids include the LPD office window and door replacement project, American Glass and Mirror, $84,500. The LPD roof replacement projects, Elmer W. Davis is company, it's $156,881, and LPD roof HVAC unit replacement project, Steve's Heating and Cooling is doing that for $38,900. All bids were unanimously approved. Funding for the project will come from the town's H98 NYPA account. And here's another article. You can repurpose your rooms and breathe new life into a home. Homeowners do not need to get hung up on room labels as they explore ways to reinvent their spaces. Just because a floor plan labels a space as a formal dining room doesn't mean the area has to remain that way. Repurposing rooms in a home comes down to aligning the space a person has with their lifestyle needs. Here's a few ways to rethink interior spaces and make a switch to improve utility. Identify unused or underused rooms. Take notes of spaces that are cleaned but rarely used. For many people, this is a dining room or a guest suite. Either of these rooms can be transformed into something new. Invest in multi-purpose furniture. Even people short on space can transform their homes. Replacing a traditional bed with a Murphy bed or a day bed can make a room more suitable for a home office or yoga studio, but still provide a space for the occasional house guest to sleep. A pull-down shelf desk in a bedroom or even a walk-in closet can turn an area into a compact home workstation. You can claim dead space. The area under the stairs or another small spot often is used to collect junk. Instead, it can be turned into a built-in wine rack, a reading nook for kids, or even a pet sanctuary with a few modifications. Analyze areas around the home that seem like they don't serve a purpose, and then figure out a way to make them more functional. You could establish warm zones. Some people simply cannot transform an entire room into something else. Visual partitioning makes it possible to create rooms within rooms. An area rug can be used to define a border or a space. Open bookshelves can serve as a wall to separate a sleeping area from a lounging spot. Lighting can add dimensions to areas in space. An pendant light over a crafting or work table can be used to define the space. You can look at utility areas. Unless you are a do-it-yourselfer or have a hobby that takes up much of the garage or basement, utility areas are major spots in homes to consider repurposing. A garage can be turned into a home gym, kids' play area, or even a hobby shop. Modular flooring and insulated walls can make the room comfortable. Attic lofts are the ultimate quiet zones and can be serene spots for reading, meditating, or doing homework. An unfinished basement can be converted into a finished space to serve many different purposes. From media rooms to teen lounge to hobby cave, the opportunities are endless. So a good rule of thumb before converting any room is to give it a test run. Move in a piece of furniture and test how it works with its intended function. Access lighting, noise, and foot traffic for a week, and then move ahead with changes if the result is positive. So Sunday is Mother's Day. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on Mother's Day. At the Fatima Shrine, they're having a Mother's Day brunch. And it's tickets and seats are limited, though. They're having a Fish Fry Friday for $15.50. The Mother's Day brunch is $35. If you're under 5, you're free. They're having a Mother's Day buffet at the Red Coach Inn, $46 for adults. Antonio's is having a Mother's Day brunch. And they have carb roast beef with the juice, a carb roasted pit ham, an omelet station. They have a lot of stuff there. Romano, encrusted chicken, meatballs, ziti, vegetable medleys, potatoes, greens, garden salad. They've got the whole bunch. And then to celebrate Mom, a Mother's Day brunch at Grand Island's newest venue, Occasions Event Center. They're going to have fresh fruit and pastries, classic breakfast selections, Italian family favorites, omelet carving stations, and desserts. And that's $44 for adults, $25 for kids. At the, let's see what we have. Then there's places you could buy gifts, like Kelly's Country Store has a lot of different gifts. They're homemade chocolates. They have Buffalo themed gifts, jewelry, candles, Irish room. They have all kinds of things. Wagner's Farm has a lot of flowers, beautiful flowers to hanging baskets. Seidman Nurseries also has a lot of hanging baskets. They have a 10% coupon, a gift for moms. Everything Youngstown is opening days May 8th. They have a spring cleaning sale, a 50% off select clothing. There you go. Sharia Moore, the perfect place to shop for mom. And for communions, graduations, and celebrations. It's on Center Street in Lewiston. Wayside Landscaping and Nursery also has a lot of different things to plan for spring, a lot of landscaping things. In another news, the Lincoln Park Nursery is making its mark with unique offerings and customer care. 100 giant rocks, chains of drip water, a stone bench, and an ornamental flowering cherry tree all have in common. If you saw their items on display at Lincoln Park Nursery in Amherst, you'd be correct. You'd also be right if you guessed their products by owner John Maloney's imagination. In fact, he's a big proponent of one of a kind. I like to do things different than other nurseries, he said. If you want a custom bench, I make one, which means no one else will have another one like it. Maloney explained, our water features are all custom made and drilled here in-house. My brother and I drilled a hole through a rock, almost 30 years ago, and made water come out of it. No one else will have a water feature like that. That's what I like. I like to set ourselves apart from other companies when we do things. I want something one of a kind, something no one else will have. I like to set myself apart when it comes to these things that stand out, the wow factor kind of thing, he said. That's what we kind of strive to do. One of a kind, handmade, unique, locally grown, organic. With the weather starting to spring, April, May, and June are our busiest months, Maloney said. Everyone comes out to get all their stuff for the season because we're all cooped up in the wintertime, and everyone's anxious to get out here. Everyone comes in and usually is going to start getting their mulch for their landscaping beds, or else need new landscaping. We carry all the seasonal items, your flowers, your hanging baskets, all your annuals, vegetables, and things like that. For those Lincoln Park Nursery customers looking to get a step further than hanging a plant, we can do that. Anything from a simple tree planting to a full-blown landscape, Maloney said. Not only do we sell all this stuff and deliver, but we install everything as well. He explained if they're interested in having us do the landscaping estimate, we set up a time for me to come out and meet them at their house, and I talk with them and go over the areas to do any ideas that they might have. That way I could try to include some of the in our designs. And we still do hand-drawn designs, nothing computer-generated. We go out, we do pictures, measurements, exposures, we gather up all the information, we bring it all back here, come up with the design, and then from there I say, we're going to call you once the design is done. We're going to come in here, we're going to present the design to you, and then we're going to walk around the nursery and look at plants. I always like to do it like that because for me to sit there and explain to the customer what a Wigila is and what a Spirea is on the job, they're like, well, I don't know. What's nice is, let's come in and look at the plants. I'm always a visual person. I want to see these plants, so I always have like that process. Then it gives them the option as well, walking around our yard. Oh, well, what is that? Oh, well, what's that? It will help me better understand what they're looking for as well, and then I can really narrow their estimate down to, oh, you really like that Japanese maple? Sure, we could put that right here. For those whose thumbs are a little greener, another service we offer is that we design, you dig. That's where, well, gee, I can plant stuff and dig a hole, but I just don't know what bushes to put there. Mahoney said that's when the customer will provide the pictures and the measurements, kind of what I do if we were going to be doing the work. So they're going to provide me with all that information, and we'll come up with a hand-drawn design for them. At that point, same thing, they're going to come in and we're going to present their design to them. We'll walk around and show them the plant material. They're actually going to get 20% off their plant material if they purchase it from here. So ultimately, the $125 design fee that we charge them for that service becomes free because they're saving money on all the plants out there. A lot more people are going that route. Gee, I'm a young couple and I just bought this house. I can't afford to have you guys do it, but could you help me with the design? That'll help a lot. So Lincoln Park Nursery is celebrating its 75th anniversary in 2026. Maloney is a third-generation owner. He actually grew up in the house next to the nursery. His grandparents, Jim and Grace Taylor, started the business in 1951. Maloney's mother, Cheryl, took over in the 1970s, soon to be joined by his father, Tom. John began working at Lincoln Park Nursery in 1996, and then I took over about 10 years ago, he said. This is the only job I've ever had my whole life, and I've never filled out a job application. At the Lincoln Park Nursery, what you'll find here is a good customer service, Maloney said. That, I feel, is a dying industry, unfortunately, but most of the important things in my book, you have to have a good attitude and a smiling face when someone comes in. He added, it's rare that you still find family-owned businesses that have been around as long as we have, but we must be doing something right if we've been around this long. Lincoln Park is located at 147 Old Niagara Falls Boulevard. Though it's a little off the beaten path, the nursery grows every year, Maloney said. So many people who live in this area. I've lived in Tonawanda or North Tonawanda my whole life, and I've never known you were here. I always say we're the hidden gem of Amherst over here. I like it down on this end, he said. Once people discover us, wow, this place is great. Will help for your health. Dr. Glenna Rose is a chiropractor. She says, spring has sprung. Achoo! Spring is here. Just as the dust begins to fly inside, pollen starts to fly outside. Seasonal stresses, such as pollen sensitivity, are one of the most important problems in the United States. This year, many trees and flowering plants are blooming all over the place at one time. The beauty of spring burdens many with itchy, watery eyes, headaches, runny nose or clogged nose, sneezing, coughing, making this time of year miserable. To help cope with pollen, many people choose to limit their exposure by closing their windows, using air conditioning, and showering after outdoor activities to remove pollen from their skin and their hair. Chiropractic patients often remark about improvements in their sinus conditions as a result of being under chiropractic care. So, accelerated intolerances elimination technique, or AIET, is an effective procedure we use for helping our patients with environmental intolerances and sensitivities. It is safe, natural, non-invasive, and assists the body to reset its reactivity to these stressors. I personally have experienced tremendous relief from reaction to seasonal pollens, cats, foods, and molds after receiving this procedure. And that was Rose, a chiropractic PC. She's a natural healthcare practice. So, the Village of Lewiston political parties set the candidates for a June election. The Village of Lewiston Republican and Democratic parties held caucuses last week to select candidates for the June 16th election. Republicans meet Wednesday inside the Red Brick Municipal Building Gymnasium. And you are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Tribune Sentinel, covering Niagara County and Grand Island on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. So back to our Village of Lewiston political parties. Democrats gathered Thursday, also at the Red Brick Gym, and chose Dan Cotta for mayor and Tina Copens and Leandra Colasano for the village board. The Conservative Party held its caucus on Tuesday and voting to endorse Welch, Edith, and Nicholas. Welch, Edith, and Copens are seeking re-election to their respective posts. Coda, Colasano, and Nichols are seeking their first elected official office in Lewiston. Lewiston is something special, Coda said in his campaign announcement. We have incredible festivals, world-class fishing, local businesses worth protecting, and a community people deeply care about. But we need to be a village people, not choose on a Tuesday in February, not just on a Saturday in July. We need a village that defines its own development, not one that lets developers define it for us. As mayor, I will be unapologetic, supportive of small businesses. I'll support our festivals and our fishing industry. I'll fight for Center Street that works for everyone, including pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers alike. And I'll make sure the people of this village are always part of the conversation. Colasano said, as a former small business owner in Lewiston, I understand firsthand the challenges our local businesses face. And as a resident, I also recognize the growing frustration surrounding transparency and accessibility in our village government. With more than 30 years of experience in project management and analytical problem solving, I will bring a thoughtful, solutions-oriented perspective to help move our community forward. She added, we need village leadership that is accessible, present, and listens. As your trustee, I will deliver all three. Then Nichols said the work done by volunteer groups like the Lewiston Garden Club and Lewiston Beautification is truly outstanding and essential to the community. As a village trustee, I look forward to supporting and partnering with the organizations to keep our community vibrant and welcoming. Mayor Welch and Deputy Mayor Edit have a strong track record and a long-standing commitment to the village. Over the past 8 years, they've led a number of important initiatives, including the sales and restoration of the historic Frontier House, as well as the continued revitalization of our waterfront. We need to build on this momentum and continue the progress that has been made. The Lower Niagara River is one of our greatest assets, and I believe we can further enhance watershed tourism and sport fishing in ways that benefit both residents and local businesses, especially during the fall and winter months. Voters will elect a mayor and 2 trustees on Tuesday, June 16th, and each office holds a 4-year term. And there's an opinion, momming as a millennial, boundaries are for us, not them. And again, this is an opinion by Christine Gerizio. And she said, we're at a family party, and I'm deflecting offers of snacks and sweets for my kids, like I'm my Conan fighting off zombies with a katana. No thank you, it's almost bedtime, I repeat over and over. I step away for 2 minutes to use the bathroom. 2 minutes! I come back to find both my kids elbow deep in a plate of Cheetos and cupcakes. And it's 7 p.m. Bedtime should be fun. Well, And in me, I'm immediately frustrated. How many times did I say no? Was I unclear? Did they not hear me? Or did they just not care? Now, because I'm the one dealing with the sugar crash, the overtired meltdown, the chaos waiting for me after they fall asleep in the car, I set a boundary. So why wasn't it respected? Unfortunately, this isn't a one-off. I found myself here more times than I can count. Mentally replaying the moment, chastising myself for not being firm enough, annoyed with a family member who disregarded my wishes. I was so fired up, so naturally I did what I usually do. I decided to turn this into a helpful content for other mamas. I was fully ready to record a podcast episode on how to set better boundaries and get people to actually respect them. But somewhere in the middle of my research it hit me, the realization that completely flipped the script. Boundaries aren't for them, they're for me. I have been going about this all the wrong way. Boundaries are not about controlling other people's behavior or setting edicts and expecting people to fall in line. They're about what you will and won't tolerate and what you'll do about it. By definition, boundaries are the standards by which you allow yourself to be treated, the limits you set for what's acceptable, safe, and respectable in your relationships. So no, it's just not me being particular, it's backed by psychology. When we treat boundaries as rules for other people, we feel disrespected when they're not followed. We get resentful and often spiral wondering why no one listens. When we understand that boundaries are for us, we can take back control and reduce the anxiety and resentment we feel and stop playing referee of everyone else's actions. I thought a boundary meant don't give my kids sugar. But a boundary actually means if you give my kids sugar, here's what I will do next. It's a skill I'm learning and practicing as I go. I started relying on boundaries more so my kiddos know what to expect from me and other caregivers and to always make sure they do, that they're safe. So how to actually set a boundary? First, you get clear on your limits. Take a step back and evaluate your core values and beliefs. Think about your absolute deal breakers, your non-negotiables, something you would never want your child exposed to. For me, it's things like being around smoking or vaping, physical discipline, or being given pop, candy, or junk food. Saying it clearly without over-explaining. Communicate your limits directly and in the moment be clear and specific. Hey, no sugar tonight. We're heading home soon and bedtime will be rough. Decide your follow through. This is the boundary. This is the part I was missing. I set the boundary clearly, but when it wasn't followed, I just internalized my anger and resentment. Now I get it. If someone ignores what I said, the boundary is what I do next to protect myself and my kids. And sometimes that means making tough, unpopular decisions. If they have sweets, we're learning early. If it keeps happening, we won't be attending any more parties. So you got to be firm and consistent. A boundary without follow through isn't a boundary, it's a suggestion. I've learned that I don't enforce it, it doesn't stick. Not because people are trying to be disrespectful, because I've shown them it's flexible. Boundaries can be uncomfortable, especially in families. There's something about telling the people who raised you or who love your kids like their own what you're not okay with that makes you feel like you're doing something wrong, even when you're not. I had to learn that prioritizing my kids' well-being and honestly my own sanity matters more than avoiding an awkward moment, and how I say it matters just as much as what I say. So what I'm doing differently now, keep it cooperative, not confrontational. I'm not coming in hot, I'm just sharing what works for us. I know it's fun to treat them, but bedtime gets really tough after. Can you check with me before giving them sweets? Keep it simple and clean. No justifications, just the ask. Using I statements. Yes, I know it's cliche, but it works. I'm trying to keep evenings calmer during the week. It keeps the focus on me and not what they're doing wrong. Expecting pushback, the eyes roll, it's just one cupcake. It happens, but just because someone doesn't like my boundary doesn't mean it's wrong. Not over-explaining. I used to think if I said the right way, it would be respected. But over-explaining doesn't make a boundary stronger, it makes it negotiable. The truth is, no one at the party was responsible for my boundary. Not the aunt with the cupcakes, Not the well meaning grandparent I was. And once I understood that, everything changed. Not because people suddenly behaved differently, but because I did. Boundaries aren't controlling the room, they're about deciding how you show up in it. Other news and advertising here. The Grand Island Legion Post of 1346 has their 2026 annual flower fundraiser, and that goes from tomorrow and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. until sold out. And flowers are $18, tomatoes are $6. And then on Saturday, June 20th, there's a Raging Cajun crawfish boil at Dick and Jenny's, and it starts at noon. If there's a big tent, they have cold beer and sangria, live Louisiana crawfish, boiled on site. And they're on 1270 Baseline Road in Grand Island. And GISPA, Grand Island School and Business Alliance, they have a 14th annual golf outing at River Oaks Golf Course on July 13th, 2026. Registration and lunch at 11 and tee-off times at 12. Then they're going to have awards dinner following the district. And then the Lewiston's Lion Club cleans up the community. And on our Earth Day, the Lewiston Country Lions Club hosted its 5th annual cleanup around the village on Saturday, and volunteers gathered at the playground pavilion behind the red brick municipal building for refreshments and instructions before overcoming intense rain and heading up to collect garbage and debris from surrounding neighborhoods. The event was sponsored by Modern Disposal Services, and the Lions also donated $250 to the Village of Lewiston historian Russ Piper to put towards his restoration projects at the village cemetery. How nice is that? So, that was the news for this week, and you are listening to a reading of articles. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the current issue of the Tribune Sentinel, covering Niagara County and Grand Island. We read through the Tribune Sentinel every Saturday at 4 p.m. Reader has been Marge Lauber. I thank you for listening, and everybody have a wonderful day.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Lockport Union Sun and Journal. Following that at 6 o'clock is the Jamestown Post Journal. And at 7 o'clock, we have the Niagara Falls Review. Stay with us for these readings and more. If you or people you know shop at any of the Dash's supermarkets, please save Dash's register tapes for radio reading. Our agency receives $2 for every $100 in Dash's register tapes. Radio reading has raised thousands of dollars so far. Anyone can drop off their Dash's tapes to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service at 1199 Harlem Road, Cheektowaga, between William and Clinton Streets. Or Dash's tapes can be mailed to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service at 1199 Harlem Road, Cheektowaga, New York, 14227. Any questions on Dash's tapes for radio reading? Call us at 716-821-5555, and thanks for caring. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability.